Welcome, everyone, back to the retreat. I'm going to ask you a question. Who do you think said this? You've been sent here to do amazing things in your life. It's time for you to bring your skills, talents, and glory to all of humanity. If you said Kourtney Levens, you'd be 100% correct. Kourtney is not only a spiritual advisor and angel communicator. I know her as kind, loving, gentle, and very generous. And so I'd like to welcome her today to the retreat to share with us. Welcome, Kourtney Levens.
Thank you, Barbara. Gosh, you just make me feel so good. I'm like, oh, I love that. So glad to be here. Glad to be with your audience. Yeah.
Wonderful. I wanted to get started maybe on, you can let us know how you got started hearing angels, if that's a good way to put it. How did that all start?
It seems like a whole other lifetime ago. It was so wild. I was lying in bed, reading at night before I went to sleep, and I started hearing music. And I was like, what is that? Right. And I walked through the house, make sure TV wasn't on downstairs or, something like that. Make sure all the radios were off, and I could still hear this music. The interesting thing was I couldn't make out what instruments were being played. So it literally was like this beautiful celestial music. And as I'm reading, I could hear it. But if I started to try to listen to it, it really kind of faded away. So I'd go back to reading, and there it was again. No words, just this beautiful celestial music. And the next night after night, this happened. And one night, I remember hearing people outside my window, outside on the grass and in the yard and in the cul-de-sac and up and down the streets, out there talking. And I went, oh my gosh, my neighbors are having a party and everybody's outside. And I fully expected the driveways to be full, cars lined up and down, both sides of the street, everything, because it was so loud. I couldn't make out the conversations, but I could hear people talking. So I climbed out of bed like a total dork, and I sneaked over to the window and I pulled back the blinds so I could see. Because at first I was like, I can't believe they didn't invite me. Friends, they know I'm single. How could they do this to me? And I went over there and peeked through the blinds, and there was nobody there. And I went, oh, gee, I'm going crazy. So this kept happening night after night. And I want to tell you, I want to be very clear about this. When I heard the voices, it wasn't like they said, Kourtney, do this, or Kourtney, don't do that. It was overhearing the conversation. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I knew there were hundreds of people talking. So think about going to a football stadium and you can hear the dull roar, right? I went ahead and told my parents, I said, I'm hearing music in the house. And my dad, you'll love this. Old school, right? Total skeptic. He's like, well, it's very, very simple. You have the radio turned on. You may even have it turned on outside. Just turn it off. And I was like, it's not the radio. So that led me to do what any good little girl would do. And I went to the doctor and said, I must be going crazy because I'm hearing music. I'm hearing voices. And he said, well, sure. We can make that go away. And sure enough, they did. Gave me a cocktail of drugs. Wow. I was a walking zombie for months. What I didn't know then that I realize now is those were my angels and guides. They were trying to communicate with me because what I didn't know is my mom was being diagnosed with cancer. And while it was not a terminal cancer, there was a 92% success rate with it, tongue cancer, right? Didn't dip, didn't smoke. It was crazy. But the chemo killed her. And she was my best friend. We worked together, would even ride to work together, did everything together. So this was really, really traumatic for me. And I do believe they were coming to me at this time to let me know, we're here for you. We want you to know that you are supported. And I did everything wrong, right? I didn't have a near-death experience. I didn't start seeing full-bodied apparitions or anything really cool like that. But once I could no longer talk and communicate with my mom, that was the catalyst that made me say, wait a minute. I want to talk to her. I missed her so bad, Barbara. And I was like, I want to talk to her. And, other people can do this. And there's got to be a way I can do this. And so I went and got certified to learn how to do this. And I'll be totally frank with y'all. When I was at that course, I quit my job. Genius, right? And I know why the angels had me do that now, because then I didn't have anything to fall back on and I had to go into my soul path. But when I was there at this certification course, all these girls and people were going, oh, I see these beautiful auras. And I was like, oh my gosh, I see nothing. I closed my eyes. I saw black. And I was like, well, you're halfway around the world and you've just spent all this money and it's not like you have a job to go back to. So you might as well just stay. So I stayed. And when I got home, I was like, well, you suck at this. You can't do this, but it's sink or swim, do or die. And I did it and started doing readings out of my home. And that was how I got started.
Wow, I did not expect that. I'm so glad I asked. Wow, 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 wow. I've been saying that a lot lately in these interviews. It's like everything is wow. Like it's so interesting to hear people's stories and how they got started on their journeys. And oh my gosh, I'm kind of still choked up about that. So let's continue on that train of thought about how do you receive the messages, I guess I'll say. Maybe talk about your gifts, how they evolved from that, from knowing. Like, how do you get the messages?
Sure. So in this course I took, I learned about our extrasensory perceptions, our clairs, the clairvoyance, which is the clear seeing, the claircognizance, which is the clear knowing, the clairsentience, which is the clear feeling. And a lot of us are that, empaths, sensitive people. Yeah. And then the clairaudient, which is the clear hearing, which I didn't even think I was until I realized later. I was like, oh yeah, I heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
When I started doing readings out of my house, just no lie, the first person came and sat across the desk from me. And I said, okay. And I had like meditated for like 30 minutes, tried to meditate, right? For 30 minutes before the session, she came in, she asked the question. I closed my eyes and I went, oh, does your husband have a mustache? And she said, yes. And I went, and I closed my eyes again. So I could see if I could get anything else. So at that point, I really don't think I knew the name for that I was seeing things clairvoyantly, right? I just knew she said yes. I wasn't making it up. So I must be doing something right. And now, after, being totally immersed in this for, nearly 2 decades, going on 2 decades now, I understand what our gifts are. And at first, I remember having every blue-haired little old Baptist lady tell me I was going to hell because I was offering angel readings. And I was sitting in church one day, and this sounds awful, but I was just flipping through the Bible because I wasn't really paying attention. Don't hold it against me. And that was when I came upon 1 Corinthians chapter 14. So anybody who has been reared in the Christian faith is familiar with the Bible. Well, if you go there and you look, it talks about the gifts the Holy Spirit gives us. And I was like, wow, the gift of prophecy is one of those gifts. And I went, okay, I'm not going to hell, right? I'm not raising the dead. And then I started reading and studying a little bit more about it, and healing and faith and speaking in tongues and understanding speaking in tongues, which I kind of think more of as light language now.
Yeah.
All of these are gifts that in some way or another we've asked for, and now we've received. So know that these gifts can be something that you're taught. It's my personal belief, if you can talk, you can sing. If you can walk, you can dance. Now, we know some people are naturals at it. I'm not good at either one. But that's the same thing with your extrasensory perceptions, your clair senses. You can be taught this. You can start actively working on this and learning how to communicate with your angels. And it's something that thrills me beyond belief, is really helping people to understand their gifts, to explore their gifts, to open their gifts and their powers. And my kids call it my spidey senses and my superpowers. But everybody has this ability. This is your natural, innate, God-given birthright to have these gifts and to be able to communicate with the unseen, with the angelic realm, with your angels, with your guides, with spirit. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm here to attest that everybody has these gifts, and you can open up and really work on them.
Well, that naturally brings me to then my next question is, how do we nurture those gifts? How do we develop them? Like, do we work on one at a time? Or like, I know at one time, one of my mentors told me, you just have to ask for those gifts.
Yes.
And I got them all. And then I was very confused because I had the clairaudience first, and that was fine. But then I thought, I want more. I want more. But then, every Tom, Dick, and Harry was, could you tell my Uncle Joe I'm sorry? And could you tell my mom I love her? And I'm thinking, whoa, 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 I didn't sign up for this. But yeah, so we'll get to maybe the shielding against, everybody coming in. But sorry, I'm confusing myself. Get back to the how do we nurture those gifts?
Beautiful, beautiful question, because like you said, your clairaudience came in first. Interestingly enough, that is the last of the clairs to develop. So if you've ever heard your name being called when you were kind of in that in-between state of sleep, you're clairaudient, and your angels are communicating with you, and they want you to know they're around. If you've ever heard the phone ring and nobody's there, knock on the door, nobody's there, that's your clairaudience. So it's similar to us going through life, and I like to describe it kind of like eating a nacho. I'm from Texas, so Tex-Mex is huge here. Eating a nacho, when you pick up that nacho, you are seeing it, you are smelling it. As you begin to put it in your mouth, you are touching it and feeling it with your hands, tasting it with your tongue, feeling it go into your mouth. All of that happens really kind of within a split second. So with your clair senses, the same thing. We all have one or two that are each a little bit stronger than the others, but by practicing with it, by working with it, I've developed a series of, if you want to say, exercises you can do to really help stimulate that growth with your clairs, to really help fine tune it, to understand them more. And the other thing is to understand even the personality types of people who are more clairvoyant versus clairaudient. That was really interesting in being able to learn that if you are a person who is clairvoyant, which is the seeing, you might find that you want to have every light on in the house. You want all the blinds open, all the curtains open. You want to be able to see things, right? Visual input is very important to you. And it's almost like you have to turn off the radio to be able to see better, right? Those things are things that I've come up with and teach my students when you know you have one or you think you have one, it is very definitely something that can be explored. And just like singing and dancing, the more you practice, the better you get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of the more you practice and get the feedback from others, like I said once to a lady, well, and I was thinking, I kept seeing this blue rose, which, there was no blue roses back then. And so finally I said to her, I keep seeing this blue rose and maybe it means something to you. And she started crying and she just said her mother died and her mother had written a poem about a blue rose. And it's like it's that belief and the feedback of, because there's that point of where I think I went through that a little bit for a while, is like, do I really believe what I'm seeing? Do I really have this gift? Am I really hearing angels or Jesus or whoever it is speaking to me? There's that doubt. But when you get the feedback from others, I think that's what helped me a lot, to believe in my gifts. And now I'm just, growing and growing and getting better and more sensitive, I guess might be the word. I thought, let's go back to the shielding for a minute. And then I want to go to the course, the certification that you've got. So when I was talking about all of these people trying to talk to me, and, I was doing dishes and I'm talking to them. And my husband comes in the kitchen and says, "Who are you talking to?" I didn't even realize I was speaking out loud to all these people. But anyway, so what can we do about something like that, especially with the clairaudient and the voices?
Yeah. And Barbara, you are not the first person who has come to me and said, I'm losing my mind. There's something going on. And I got very granular, very specific, and very clear with my angels and guides and said, don't do that to me. Because when that started happening, I was like, oh no, 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 no. I'm not gonna be the person running around town saying I have a message for you.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to talk to me, you tell them to find me. And that was my rule. And one of the other things very important with that is, we've all played with Ouija boards, right? Some of us admit it, some of us don't. But the Ouija board itself isn't innately bad, but there are no rules set up. There are no parameters. You are not protected in any way from communicating with your angels and guides versus bad juju, an earthbound spirit who's not crossing over. And so one of the things I teach in angel school and the certification course is what I call the rules of engagement. And this has to do with shielding, which is a clear invisible bubble, an egg, a balloon. You put yourself in so that you're not picking up on everybody else's energy. You can intuit things and you will still sense it and stuff, but it's not going to stick to you. Also, with the rules of engagement, you can even set up your hours of operation and come see me during business hours.
Wow.
So that's something really, really important that not only gives you a sense of control and power, but you also have guidelines and it makes you feel safe because you also talk about who you're going to communicate with. And my readers communicate with beings of the light, only angels in a higher realm. Now, if they're doing mediumship, they will allow friends and family from the other side to come in, but it's very restricted. It's not just whoever wants to come in can come in. And like for me, when I'm doing a session with clients, they're not allowed to come in unless the client says, "Hey, can we talk to Uncle Joe?" Sure, I'll see if he's available. But by really putting up those rules and those parameters, saying, "Hey, y'all giving me this gift, you want me to use it, I'm here to serve the world, but there has to be balance and we have to have some rules." So one of the things that's so important with the shielding is when I was hearing the voices and when I was hearing the music, I worked at the motorcycle shop. Talk about really swinging that pendulum from one extreme to the other, from selling motorcycles and riding motorcycles to talking to angels, right? But I would be happy. I'm naturally a cheerful person and be excited. And then within about 10 seconds, angry, mad, furious, off my rocker.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found was when you have a customer coming in and he's going to get that 200-mile-an-hour motorcycle, he is excited. And that energy becomes little thought bubbles, that feeling, that emotion, and it travels until it lands. And for me, and for a lot of empaths, I was just a beacon. I was a magnet saying, come land on me, come land on me. So I picked up those emotions and was like, he's so excited. But the turn of the dime was 10 steps behind him was his mom, girlfriend, wife saying, if you get that motorcycle, I'm going to kill you. Right. And so then I was just angry and mad because then all of that came to me.
Oh my gosh.
I was an emotional roller coaster and I was like, there's something bad wrong with me. So the shielding, that cocoon, that bubble of protection is super important so we can get back to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
What are we feeling? What are we experiencing? What belongs to us versus, oh, that's not really mine. Sure, I can pick up on it. I can sense that, but I don't need to hold on to it. It's really something I have to be careful of with my kids. My daughters are 7 and 11 now. And I have to get really, really aware and observant of them when their personality starts changing or their attitude starts changing. I have to go in there and really clear them, vacuum away energies and things that don't belong to them, and make sure I put another bubble of protection around them because they too are sensitive and they will hold on to other people's emotions. And you might be the happiest driver in the world, but if you're driving in Houston traffic and somebody 3 lanes over has road rage, that emotion comes to you and sticks to you, and then you're mad and you don't even know why. So the clearing and shielding is a super important daily practice. And as a matter of fact, once I got in that practice of doing that daily, all of the mood swings, or what I would call mood swings, stopped. And the doctors came back and said, oh, misdiagnosis. You're not anything, you're just normal, because I was acting out everybody else's emotions instead of just mine. So the clearing and shielding is really important, as well as setting up those parameters for you.
Right. Oh my gosh. Thank you. You mentioned putting bubbles around your children. Can we do that? Can we put a bubble around, even if they're like in their 40s? My kids are all in their 40s.
Yes. And one of the ways you can word this or say this so that you're not imposing on someone's free will is by saying, if my daughter's higher self will allow it, angels, I'd like you to vacuum away any thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories that don't belong to her, are no longer serving her. And then if her higher self will allow it, please put a protective bubble around her, a shield around her, so she knows what her emotions are versus somebody else's. I have done this for years and years and years, but it's really important that parents know that they can do it to their children. Now, my kids are learning about how to do it for themselves, Barbara, but they will still say, Mommy, I think I've got some bad juju on me. And sometimes they just need a hug. But a lot of times we'll go through the process of talking to the angels and saying, okay, let's do this. And we're going to ask the angels to clear us. And now we're going to ask the angels to shield us. And that way they can deal with their own emotions instead of trying to have to deal with other people's. Because my kids are little, for the first few years, I didn't ask their higher self. I just did it because I'm their mom. Now they like to be very involved in meditating and prayer and communicating with their angels and guides. So I have them do it. But you can very easily do it to somebody by putting that into place if their higher self will allow it.
Mm-hmm. I think that is an excellent, excellent idea of asking the higher self first. Oh, this has been so valuable. Oh my gosh. Let me look at my notes here. I think we just about covered everything. Did talk about your angel certification. Just how long is that? Or you mentioned kind of two things.
Yeah. The first part of angel certification is what I call angel school. It is the groundwork. It is the foundation. It is where we learn about the clearing and shielding, where we learn about our clairs, our senses, the exercises to increase those and to improve those, and to really get messages on command and on demand. It also talks about the rules of engagement and helps set you up for getting into a daily practice of journaling, meditating, even having a dream journal, which is really, really powerful. So that's the first part of the Heaven on Earth Angel Certification is Angel School. It got such wonderful feedback from my readers that they said, Kourtney, you've got to make this available to anybody. So we went ahead and did it. And now Angel School is available to anyone. It is 10 modules that you can go through at your own pace. You get 2 live Q&A calls with me. There are also some bonuses, like one of them is things they don't tell you, and tools that you don't have to buy that you can use to assist yourself in doing readings, in getting messages for yourself. And the practice exercises are totally invaluable. So whenever I was talking to my readers and thinking about what would I like to name this angel reader communicator certification program, I was sitting there thinking about what is it like when I know that during the day I get to talk to angels and guides. And I was like, it's kind of like heaven on earth. And I went, that's the name.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Heaven on Earth certification is a 6 or 12-month program, depending on your schedule. Some of my clients say, no, I want to get this done as fast as possible so I can begin doing readings. And that's a 6-month course. We meet every week. Now you get a lot of the foundation for everything in Angel School. But the real key to the certification is you get practice. And you're not practicing on each other in the class. I keep the classes very, very small, no more than 5 people. And as I teach you, let's say, here's how we're going to do soul purpose or career and finance reading, or this is how we're going to do a romance reading or a health reading where we do a health scan. I teach them that. And then for several weeks afterwards, we have live people, live guests come in. We call them a sitter for each of the readers to go in and do a real reading on. So they get to come in and the sitters get to have free readings and the readers get that practice with somebody they don't know. But the really cool thing, and where this is so different than anything else out there, is I'm tuning in with you. So when you have the client who says, like I did, I'm closing my eyes and I'm seeing black. There's nothing. I'm not doing this. I can't do it. I suck, right? Like I did. I get to go in there and go, okay, close your eyes again. Go back into it. Now you see over in your mind's eye, you see that building over to the right. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. We're going to go over to that building. Now, as you get closer to that building, do you see the fence behind it in the background? Oh, yes. Great. Now we're going to go over to the fence. Now, do you see the dog? Oh my gosh, yes, dog. So with that, I'm able to go into the energy with you, guide you, navigate you, and really open you up to seeing and experiencing maybe what you're dismissing or doubting, right? And there's some very specific benchmarks that I give my readers to eradicate the doubt. And it's one of the first things you learn in Angel School is when you want to find out, is this from the angels? Is this my imagination? Am I making this up? Right? We always wonder about that. And so I give them a very clear, specific set of questions to ask and instructions so that they can eradicate the doubt. That literally jumps the timeline for you, because I was doing readings professionally for over a year before I could finally get that doubt under control. So this enables them, instead of having to go through it for a year, doing it, full time and having that much experience, to be able to go, oh, nope, I know this is coming from the angels, or yeah, I did that one, right? And being able to discern that. So it's really powerful. The 6-month course, we meet every week. After 6 months, not only have you practiced and performed all these readings, but all of those guest sitters have now written you testimonials. So when you start your business, or if you apply to be put on my website, you've already got a bank of testimonials of people saying, oh my gosh, they did a reading for me and they couldn't have known this or this, or, oh my gosh, this was brilliant, or this was life-changing. How did they know this, right? So it really sets them up for success, as well as already having that experience, kind of like an intern, of dealing with the people, setting up their readings, how that's going to go, teaching them how to set up their online calendar, their scheduling, how to get a virtual assistant if they decide they need one, how to set up their website. So we go into more than just, here's your certification.
Right.
A few years ago, Michael woke me up, Archangel Michael woke me up in the middle of the night and said, you've certified people, but people aren't doing anything with it. We need them sharing this and spreading the light and getting other people more involved in coming back to God and the angels and spirit. And we need you to do this. And I went, well, I think I heard that wrong. And I finally stopped resisting. And last year I went ahead and opened the certification course and said, once you do the certification, you then can apply to be on my website, where I set up the website. I help you with your bio, help you with your headshots. We have the online calendar. The scheduling is all done for you. And literally all you do is show up. So it's kind of like a business in a box.
Yeah, I see that.
And it has been really, really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Kourtney, that brings us to your free gift. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So if you've ever wanted to hear from your angels, or ever wondered if you had the spidey senses to be able to communicate with the unseen, I have a free class for you. It is an angel intuition class where we're going to talk all about everything. Give you a quiz so you can understand what your method of communication is with your angels and guides, what your clairs are. We're going to talk about messages, how to get them, how to receive them, how to clear, how to shield, turning things on and off, because you've got to be able to turn things on and off, because if you go to sleep at night and you've got it on, you're not going to sleep. So that goes back to those rules of engagement, of really setting up those boundaries for yourself. So this is a free class where everybody is invited to participate. Everybody's invited to attend. Costs you nothing. Don't worry, the class is also going to be recorded. So even if you just register for the class and can't make it, you will get the recording. The Angel Intuition class, completely free of charge. Now, with that, as a couple of extra bonuses, we have a soul purpose class. And in this class, you're going to uncover your path. You're going to uncover some of your spiritual callings for your path and what your highest vibration and highest destiny is for you and your purpose in this lifetime. And along with that, speaking of the highest purpose and the highest version, we have a meditation of creating the highest version of yourself. This is such a beautiful meditation. I channeled this. It came through from the angels and guides. It is absolutely amazing. I've gotten so much spectacular feedback on this. I've had clients text me and call me and say, Kourtney, now I know how to become the person I'm meant to be. And And now I've been able to see the path I'm going on. And now I know how to really get into that energy and stay in that vibration. So all of that is free for your audience. And we have one more special offer.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Remember, everyone, I said she's generous. Okay. She's proving it.
So some of you may have never experienced even having a reading. It's not something to be scared of. It's a beautiful, beautiful interaction between you, your angels and guides, and the reader. So I have made myself available for a discounted price. For your audience, Barbara, whoever wants to get a reading with me, I'm opening up a few spots. It is limited. So hurry up and get on that fast before it closes up. But a 30-minute session with me, Kourtney Levens, your personal angel reader, for $147.
Righty. Awesome. Great, great value. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Kourtney. Your joy of life and your generosity really came through. And the information to me was very valuable. And I'm sure it will be to all of the members that are joining the retreat. So thank you again so very much.
You are so welcome, Barbara. And for everybody on the retreat, so glad that you had the courage to step into your spiritual path and to give yourself permission to grow and evolve spiritually. It's really important that this isn't something we deny ourselves, especially at this time. It's important for those of us who are of the light, really shine that light and to really be a voice for others who maybe are still a little afraid to come out of the spiritual closet. So if you ever want any help with that, any coaching or advising, please come see me, Kourtney Levens, and I'd be more than happy to help you on your spiritual path and explore your gifts in communication.